This is SportsRage. I am Morency. I got to check Canucks Twitter here in a minute. Like I just said, the Blackhawks nearly just scored. Like the puck like literally kind of rolled along the red line, and Demko sort of swung around. It was like, you'll see the highlights. It was like the save of the night type of deal. But Buddy on the Blackhawks said something to Demko after. I don't know what he said, but Demko didn't seem to appreciate it. And I could tell there was something lucky in there, but I don't know if he said you're freaking pretty lucky, eh? Or like how it came across to Demko. But I want to see what was said there. I get their smack talk said, but like I said, Demko didn't seem to appreciate what the dude on the Blackhawks said to him. Kind of looked up and they weren't laughing. Like there wasn't like a joke, but Demko did get incredibly lucky there. That was very close, 2-0 in this hockey game. As Joe mentioned, the Canucks are actually laying 3.5 goals right now. We should note the second period has started, and Chicago are all over them to start. So, which means Vancouver will probably score the next goal. That's the way it always works. But I'm not interested in the 3.5 here. I wouldn't take 3.5, and I wouldn't lay 3.5. But I think this game's probably going to end up like 5-0 for Vancouver. Chicago might score though. Like they've got 11 shots on goal, Cam, and they've had a couple of close opportunities. So there's no guarantee Demko gets a shutout here. But Demko is like an amazing goalie.
He is. And if you're in Chicago, you shouldn't say anything to anybody but calling Demko lucky. He's a very good goaltender. And, hey, the puck didn't go in the net. That's life. That's what happens in hockey. Good bounces, bad bounces. This team's just on a heater right now. Gabe, you said it. Like, this is what happens. Chicago's buzzing. If Demko makes another save and whatever and it gives these guys a little bit, lights a fire under them, I would not be shocked if Vancouver scored the next goal.
Yeah, I would not be too happy if I was talking the way the first 5 minutes of this period's gone. Like the Canucks are not like they're getting outplayed massively here. Just they're getting outworked. That's the big thing. The Blackhawks are just outworking them. Shout out to everyone joining us on Sirius XM channel 159. George Kurtz going to join us in a couple of minutes. I look forward to Kurtz's take on Patrick Waugh's return to the National Hockey League. Shocking developments that Lou Lamoriello decides to bring Patrick Waugh back to the National Hockey League. Patrick Waugh, who I have like a ton of respect for, somebody who did not do very well in the National Hockey League with the Colorado Avalanche when he was there. Like, he was very erratic. I can say this as somebody who's from there, but if you'll notice, like, these Quebec coaches and stuff, they're all crazy, man. All right? Like, Patrick Waugh needs to dial it back. And we'll see if, like, now he's older, that if he's dialed back, because, like, he was very abusive, right? Like, to players. And I'm not talking about, like there's a thing, Ken, I don't mind, like talking, being hard on players, but honest with them. But Patrick Waugh was just a jerk, bro. I'll just be honest. And I like him. But, like I said, he met, like, Thatcher Demko, a good example. That story with Thatcher Demko. Thatcher Demko, when he was coming out of college, Patrick Waugh was with Colorado, and he met with him. And he told him, I would never draft you, and I don't think you'll be and he said, why do you dance? Like, he asked him, why does he dance, like, to music, like, in between whistles and stuff, like he did in college? And Thatcher said, because I was having fun. And he goes, yeah, well, I don't think that's very whatever. He goes, I would never draft you. And I told the story before. Thatcher Demko was like, Patrick Waugh was one of his heroes. And he was like, I can't believe, like, what an a-hole this guy actually is in real life. and don't forget, like, Patrick Waugh used to, like, piss the owner off, like, and stuff, because he would pull the goalie with, like, 10 minutes left in the game. He was very erratic. He would rip the players in the media, like, just point blank, rip them. They're terrible. Very Michel Therrien. And if you'll notice, and I was thinking off the top of my head, and I got to look this up actually, but I was thinking off the top of my head, who's, like, how many successful coaches from Quebec are in the league right now?
I don't know. It's a great question.
And they're not, right? Like, in a sense, I'm thinking, I could be wrong. Like, somebody tell me, I'm thinking, all right, I'm going to go through the list. Well, I'm going to bring this up with Kurtz when he comes on, but if you look, like, Michel Therrien is a good example. So Michel Therrien, very, very passionate, but he's insane, right? And he can like hide it, but he can't forever. It's going to come out again. Like, it's just who he is. All the Canadian guys. Martin St. Louis is actually a pretty calm Quebecer.
Yes. Good call. And he's also working with a young
But he's not really
team,
that calm. He's not really. He's kind of crazy too, but like he's good though. But I'm just saying these Quebec coaches are very intense, man. Like they're very lit. Like they're very junior-like. They expect they expect everything to be their way.
You remember Patrick Roy better. You're born in Quebec. The guy also was Quebec in the junior league. The guy fought another, not just verbal abuse, like he's challenging people to fight. It's like Patrick Roy.
He tried to fight Bruce Boudreau. He tried to climb the glass and fight Bruce Boudreau before. Like Boudreau's like a little Humpty Dumpty guy.
Yeah,
a little Humpty Dumpty. Patrick Roy's trying to climb the glass and stuff. It's like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you got to relax, bro. You know what I mean? Like, but he seemed, I got to tell you, he seemed pretty calm in the press conference. And he's got a chip on his shoulder, Cam, because he doesn't think that he's been given he even said, I don't know, like, you know what I mean? They said, how, did you want to coach in the NHL? And he goes, no one called me. He said, I thought someone would call me. No one called me. He always wanted to be the coach of the Canadians. That was his thing. And it was like, that was like he always visioned himself being a head coach of the Montreal Canadiens. But the Canadians are sort of like the Cowboys, Cam, in which they're scared of him. They're like, we can't have this guy. Like, he's too much of his own man. Our press conferences are going to turn into circuses. He's going to get into it with the Journal de Montréal guys and the local media guys, the French guys. It's going to be a constant war all the time. We don't want that. So, and it bothered him. It's New York with the Islanders. It'll be fine. But it's funny. I watched the NHL Network today, and they were praising it like this and that and how well he works with players and stuff. And I was thinking, like, you guys are being pretty optimistic about this, to be honest. It's a strange hire.
Yeah, it's a very strange hire, and there's a reason he hasn't got hired. Exactly the things you said. Intense, verbal abuse, all the other stuff that goes along with it. Let's remember another French-Canadian coach, and you bring up a great point, Bob Hartley, who I watched.
Yeah, he was another one. Thank you, Cam. Yeah. He's out of the league because he was abusive.
I went to an Atlantic Thrashers practice before Pharrell was doing that. You know what? He bag skated guys in the NHL. And I went up to my buddy. I go,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
He's doing stuff that, like, and I remember one of the players told him to F off. It might have been Ilya Kovalchuk, one of the better players in the league back then. Like, that's
what I said, Cam. They think it's like junior. Like, he would hit players with sticks in the ass, skate faster, and like,
it's crazy.
He'd shoot pucks at people in practice. Like, hey, you. But
it's insane.
But they were saying, Patrick Roy, the first practice was so intense and stuff. It's like, but it was fun. Yeah, okay, you guys think it's fun now. Wait until you piss him off. Wait until he's in a bad mood, and it won't be so much fun. But he's an intense dude, and the Islanders are just such a bland, nothing franchise. Sorry, Kurtz, but we'll break it down the other side. But like, you're just sort of like bland. You know what I mean? Now you got something at least.
The Lions were going to blow out the Rams, and in the first half I was like, all right, I got one right here on this one. And then the Lions, what happened, Jacob? They stopped playing.
The Lions offense is more of a complete unit right now because they have a really strong run game, and I know Tampa's run defense is good too, but all they need is David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs to do a little, and that'll open things up for Jared Goff.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Last year, the Purdue Boilermakers upset by the 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson. Is history going to repeat itself?
Purdue is capable of winning 6 games in the NCAA tournament, but the fact is, until Purdue proves that it's capable of not just advancing, but advancing far in the bracket in March, this is going to be the storyline. And I've said that to you throughout the offseason.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I can see why people would bet Boston at minus about 45, but I think the two of them are so exciting and so talented and so awesome. I went with and made the bet of the over 6.5.
There are issues with football characters. Always doing the right thing, being in the right spot, being highly coachable. Why do they continue to fail in the big moments? It's football character, Pharrell. It's not a talent issue. That has nothing to do with it.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They were best friends. Like Siakam's best friend on the team was Chris Boucher. Chris Boucher's best friend on the team was Pascal Siakam. They're not American, right? So there's different cliques in the NBA. And they were very, very tight. So Chris Boucher, I got rattled seeing Chris Boucher and thinking about the memories. But Raptors responded.
SportsRage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
One that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
All right, the LA Kings still scoreless with the San Jose Sharks right now. Not a massive fan of this. I've got them connected to a lot of parlays with the Vancouver Canucks. Kansas Jayhawks up 70-63 late in this basketball game, under 30 seconds remaining there. And the Canucks are still up 2-0 right now. Chicago have played well in the second period of play. Let's bring in Captain Chalk right now. We're assuming that George is stressing out this LA King game with us right now. We need some goals from the Kings, Kurtz. What's going on?
Indeed. I think that goes without saying. I'm not stressing yet. I mean, it's only the first period here. But the Kings
we just don't want to go from San Jose.
They're not scoring a lot of goals. The Kings aren't scoring a lot of goals. What's it going to be? A 2-0, 3-1 final? That's what it feels like with LA almost every game they play now.
Well, let's hope. All right, let's get a goal here with the LA Kings. All right, George. So shocking development over the weekend with your New York Islanders. So they make the coaching change. That's not a shock, but the shock was that it's Patrick Roy. There were no rumors or anything that Patrick Roy was going to return to the National Hockey League. Lane Lambert is out. Patrick Roy is in, and interesting hire. Right? I mean, the hockey media seems to be applauding it, that he's going to bring some intensity to this team, which I get. But let's just be real. His first stint in the National Hockey League did not go very well as a head coach. And I almost look at him sort of like a football coach that almost might be better off for college, right? And like junior hockey, he was the kingpin. He was the owner of the team. Like, he controlled everything. Like, you know what I mean? I own the team. I own the building. I own, you know what I'm saying? He controlled everything about the operation, and it was good for him. Now back in the National Hockey League, he's going to have to take a step back and not be as intense as he's been in past years. Otherwise, the players will end up hating him pretty quickly, George.
I think that's fair. I know that my first thought was Patrick Roy and Lou Lamoriello. That's an interesting mix, right? Lou tells you nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's more. I know the fans hate him because you're not allowed to say anything. You can't have a beard. You can have no individuality. Patrick Roy is out there, right? He's going to have some fun press conferences. He likes to talk. And I know talking to an Islanders beat writer yesterday at the game here, they said in the press box, you could hear Patrick Roy during the game. He's that loud. You could hear him telling the players what to do, yelling at the refs, yelling at the linesmen. He is that loud. So he's intense. Listen, the Islanders have a lot of problems. Was I a Lambert guy? No, but he wasn't the only problem. Lamoriello has made, so many interesting moves, bad contracts handed out over the years. The Islanders haven't had a number 1 pick since 2019. They're one of the oldest teams in the NHL, and there's nobody in the AHL that's coming up to help this team. All right, so there's a lot of issues here. They're up against the cap. Like I said, I think there's a lot of problems here with the Islanders. It's not just the head coach. The GM has issues here, and the players themselves. They lead the earth in giving up third period leads. They take penalty at the penalty at the penalty, and they turn the puck over 1,000 times. All right, I understand that's partly on the coach, but that's a lot on the players as well. I guess the hope here is that Roy will get through to them, and they won't keep making those mistakes. They won yesterday, but as Roy pointed out, they gave up 14 shots on turnovers in their own zone. That's too many, way too many here. I don't know if Roy can get through to them enough to stop that.
The players, from what I saw from the highlights and the bench, from the Islanders bench, the players did seem to enjoy at least the energy that it provided. Like I said, the energy can change. It can turn into negative energy, but you talked about Patrick Roy being so loud. I heard a story today about the first practice that he ran. When he whistles, he doesn't have a whistle, guys. He can whistle without a whistle, and it's loud as hell, Cam. And not with his hand either. He just does it with his mouth. Wow. And they said it's loud as hell, and you look over, and he just, no hand. He just whistles, and they're like, yeah, he doesn't have a whistle. He's so effing loud during practice, he doesn't have a whistle. He just whistles at you.
You know how hard that is to do? This guy's some kind of ventriloquist?
It reminds me, though, of like Ditka with the Saints when Kyle Turley goes. He didn't know anyone's name on the team. He would just go, hey, 72, come here. Like, 72. Right? Patrick Ryan's picture him whistling at everybody. Yeah, without a whistle, George. He just whistles at people. That loud on a ring.
I read the same story, but I assumed it was his fingers, right? The old and he was doing that. I didn't know he was doing that with just his lip. But that's an interesting skill. Listen, I think the intensity will be good for the Islanders, but no one's going to tell you that Lane Lambert wasn't intense. He was an intense guy.
That's a good point.
He looked at his face. So, listen, it's Patrick Roy. Remember the conversation we had, a month ago about the Mount Rushmore of hockey players? We were talking forwards. Well, Roy has that as far as goaltenders, right? So he brings a lot of that credibility. You can't say, you never played the game. Roy played the game at, maybe the highest level for a goaltender. The bottom line is this. I don't think it can hurt. I just don't see how it can hurt the Islanders. Right? They're out of a playoff spot now. There's not a lot to this team. Outside of Barzal, Horvat, and Nelson, they don't score goals. Dobson's really good on defense. That's it. And you got Sorokin. There's not a lot of talent here. I don't know what anybody's expecting from this team.
No, and I saw people asking if he can do sort of the same thing Talkett did for the Canucks. The difference is the Canucks have Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson and stuff. It's a little different.
Big time.
They actually have a bunch of players, right? So, but one thing, and I said this earlier, and with all due respect, I'm just saying this, the Islanders are sort of one of those teams that they're like the Seattle Mariners. You know what I mean, George? They don't really exist. They had a history and stuff, but it was so long ago. Right? They're not really talked about in the market, even in a local marketplace. They're a niche team. It's a niche market, a Long Island thing. And they don't have any star players. They're just boring and bland. Like the Columbus Blue Jackets. You know what I mean? They're boring and bland organization. So at least Patrick Roy now. Suddenly, George, this Islander-Canadian game is fun. Suddenly, the game at MetLife is fun. Hey, Patrick Roy, maybe he'll jump over the bench and try to fight someone. You know what I mean? It's suddenly
press conference will be fun.
Suddenly, it's I'm going to watch this Islander game now. You know what I mean? It's true, Cam.
Vanilla ice cream, and now with Roy, you got sprinkles and different flavors. And the thing is,
you wouldn't care before about the Islanders and halves. Now it's Patrick Roy's going back to Montreal. It's going to be crazy.
And George is right. No offense to Lane Lambert, he's slick back, whatever. He had an intensity, but more of a just an a permanent anger intensity without the. You know what it is? He was
but he doesn't have the 4 Stanley Cups. You need there needs to be. You know what I mean, like that.
I felt bad for Lambert. Actually, he's just every night he's just so frustrated.
You know what though? Patrick Roy with the Islanders is a good fit because I brought it up earlier, George. He always wanted to be the coach of the Canadians, and very Dallas Cowboys-ish. The Canadians don't like, no, you know what I mean? Like, we're not, it's very, we call the shots, we're going to hire you, and you kind of, you know what I mean? You listen to us. Like, it's not, we don't listen to you. So it always bothered Patrick Roy. But Patrick Roy is that chip on his shoulder guy, and he did build that Quebec Rampart thing up. And the Islanders are sort of like a junior team almost. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, listen, like if you're Patrick Roy, you can say, listen, nobody cares about us, but fine. We're going to give him a reason to care about us, right? Like, he's almost like that good, like Patrick Roy would not be good with the LA Kings or something.
No.
Right? You drop them in some sort of market with the team and be like, no, like, give him a bad team cam like this that he can rebuild in his own sort of way. And one thing is Lamoriello, you said it. Lamoriello's a hard ass too, so he won't mind if Patrick Roy goes off, I don't think.
And another thing I think that George understands is, like, right, people talk about the Rangers and MSG and the Devils, and they got a couple young players. Like, it's you said it. I think it actually is a perfect fit. The question is, when he goes absolutely bananas, how long will the players respond, Gabe, before it returns the negative? But it will happen.
I like to see him lose like 10-0 or something to see his reaction.
That's not going to go over. That's not going to go over very well. No.
That Montreal trip is going to be interesting. I tell you that.
Yeah. They play Vegas tomorrow, Montreal, then Florida. I mean, Lou didn't do this to get the quick bump, right? Because they played Dallas yesterday, Vegas, Montreal, Florida. Not exactly a fun trip, right? Or a fun 4 teams to play here. We've all played easy teams. We'll get a couple of easy wins.
It's actually late in the season to fire a coach, too.
It is.
Agreed.
The Lions were going to blow out the Rams, and in the first half I was like, all right, I got one right here on this one. And then the Lions, what happened, Jacob? They like stopped playing.
The Lions offense is more of a complete unit right now because they have a really strong run game, and I know Tampa's run defense is good too, but all they need is David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs to do a little, and that'll open things up for Jared Goff.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Last year, the Purdue Boilermakers upset by the 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson. Is history going to repeat itself?
Purdue is capable of winning 6 games in the NCAA tournament, but the fact is, until Purdue proves that it's capable of not just advancing, but advancing far in the bracket in March, this is going to be the storyline. And I've said that to you throughout the offseason.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I can see why people would bet Boston at minus about 45, but I think the two of them are so exciting and so talented and so awesome. I went with and made the bet of the over 6.5.
There are issues with football character. Always doing the right thing, being in the right spot, being highly coachable. Why do they continue to fail in the big moments? It's football character, Pharrell. It's not a talent issue. That has nothing to do with it.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They were best friends. Like they like Siakam's best friend on the team was Chris Boucher. Chris Boucher's best friend on the team was Pascal Siakam. They're not American, right? So there's different cliques in the NBA, and they were very, very tight. So Chris Boucher, I got rattled like seeing Chris Boucher and thinking about the memories. But Raptors responded.
SportsRage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
One that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. Kicking it with Cam Stewart and George Kurtzbowl-Khan will step up and in a level 3. We'll get his thoughts on Patrick Waugh from a Montreal perspective. I have a lot of Patrick Waugh stories. One of my favorite players of all time, actually. Great memories with Patrick Waugh. I was in the building when they beat the LA Kings for the Stanley Cup in 1993. I remember the 86 when he was the rookie and he carried the team to the Stanley Cup championship. Beloved figure in Montreal. Over the years, you know what I mean, people forget. You know what I mean, you get younger generations and stuff. As I stated, there was a lot of bad blood between him and the organization. Of course, he famously, he left, right? When Mario Tremblay left him in the hockey game, and he said, I'll never play for you guys ever again. And the rest was history. He got traded to the Colorado Avalanche and all that. So there's been a big history there, but that building is going to be lit. Like I said, like it wouldn't have been before, George, like the Islanders now. And I got to ask you, are you going to go to the outdoor game? Because that's something that I figure you should go to. Doesn't happen all the time.
I went to the outdoor game last one they had. When they played the Rangers, I don't know, was it 5-7 years ago? It was Yankee Stadium or the Yankee Stadium.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, it was cold. It was really, really cold. All right. And I don't drink. So it's not like I'm going to drink myself to oblivion here and feel better. All right.
So you're saying it's too cold, you're not going?
It comes to a point where that's not fun anymore. All right. Yeah. I don't know what the temperature is going to be like for the game. All right. So I got to see that first.
What is it? February 18th, I think.
Yeah. So February, by the way, like most places, it's the coldest time here. So it's not going to be a nice weekend.
It'll be windy there. It'll be cold out there in the parking lot and stuff.
I don't like going to Yankee Stadium to see the Yankees in April, on April night games. It's cold.
Yeah, George is the best. Hey, I just realized, Gabe, I had a Patrick Waugh rookie card that's mint. I'm looking online. It's like anywhere between like $900 and $1,000. I sold it to buy a Seahawks starter coat for like $80.
Really?
What a fool I am, yeah. Yeah, didn't save that.
I bet you, though, to make you feel better, though, you're not really getting $1,000 for a Patrick Waugh card.
But you know what? I would say, though, but him, it's an old rookie card, Gabe. If it's in mint condition, because he's one of the best goalies of all time, if not the. I think it's actually over time going to go up because they didn't overfactor.
It's only worth what somebody will give you for it.
That is true. It lists at like 900 and change. You're right, 1,000. Yeah. So you're right.
Yeah, I know. I used to have cards and stuff, and I used to have some valuable ones. And I remember I sold them, and I had like the Beckett's, like, hey, look, it's worth this. He goes, yeah, in print it is. And he goes, yeah, but if you want, he said that was the guy. He goes, well, it's worth what someone will pay you for, isn't it? But I guess, yeah, ultimate mint. I don't know. But no, Patrick Waugh, though, like I said, he was one of the greatest goalies ever to play. You talked about the Mount Rushmore goalies. There was always a debate, especially in Quebec. Right, and because it was a Team Canada thing and a Quebec thing, Martin Brodeur or Patrick Waugh, who was better? That was there's always going to be the debates. I've always thought Patrick Waugh was. Patrick Waugh played on worse teams than Martin Brodeur. Like Brodeur played on very defensive-minded teams.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Patrick Waugh basically sort of like carried the team in a different way. They're both great. It's not really fair but like. I will say this, though. I think Brodeur was somewhat more consistent.
That's exactly my argument.
Patrick was sort of like a quarterback that would have these sort of like, we all remember, like in the playoffs, he got cocky, he tried to play the puck behind the net, it cost the goal. Like, you know what I mean? There were times he tried to showboat with his glove, it burnt. Yes, he would do some things where it was like, dude, like, it's a playoff game, bro. Like, stop showing off. Right?
I think you bring up a point. I would take
Brodeur was more
for
steady.
consistency
Like,
in a
you know what I mean?
yes. Like Patrick Waugh, though, in a one-game setting, he can make 62 saves and stand on his head and do things that like a normal human being can't do. But where Brodeur consistently was solid. So yeah, it's a really good argument if you're going to bring it up because they're both top of the food chain for sure.
I think in today's game, I'd probably rather have Patrick Waugh. Back when Brodeur played, I'd rather have Brodeur because he could play the puck. Goalies can't play the puck now, right? You got that stupid quad, which is, by the way, the number one rule I'd get rid of in hockey is that stupid quad thing. I don't understand why you're penalizing a goalie who can play the puck. I think it's kind of idiotic there. But I think that would be my difference. I'd love to have either one of them. But in today's games, they can't play the puck anyway. I'd rather have a Waugh. If you could play the puck back in the day, sure, give me Brodeur for that ability.
I've always thought, and even though I was a goalie, I always thought that if you're outside of the crease, a goalie, you're fair game and you can get smoked.
I like that idea too.
I agree.
I think that's
I'm dead serious, Cam. Like if you're a goalie and you want to go play the puck behind the net, then bro, like I can hit you into the boards like anyone else.
You left your safe zone. Now you're playing with the big boys. That's on you. I'm with you. They
let you go do what you want to do and give the puck to your forward. No, you should be able to be hit. I completely agree.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't, and I say that as a goalie, but when I played, we didn't handle the puck. Like, we were told, don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, basically, I would stop the puck behind the net and just leave it for the defenseman. Once in a while, I get cocky and stuff. You know what I mean? I tried to, like, pass or whatever, and, like, the coach would always get mad at me.
As a defenseman, I love the goalie who could play the puck. You know, so I had to skate back every time to go get it. If you could play it up to me, especially if no one around, just throw it to me a little 10 feet, 20 feet. It's great. It's fantastic. I love the goalie. But if you were bad at it, leave it alone. Don't touch it. And I hated goalies who stopped it, and then as soon as you got close to them, then they'd hit it to you. That drove me insane because you would hit it by me. And I never understood that. Don't either hit it to me 10 feet or don't hit it at all.
How many NHL goalies guys have we seen this year when they've gone out to play the puck, get tripped up, and then the other team scores? It's like it's happening all the time now. It's a very common occurrence, and stay in your damn net. Like, I'm watching games, I'm like, what the hell is this guy doing? He doesn't even know what he's doing out there. He's playing the puck.
Yeah, if you don't have confidence, you can't do it. Then stay in your net, stay in the crease. I'll go get it.
It's because they get bored, Cam. That's all it is.
That's actually the answer. Because
I'm
you're
telling
sitting there going,
they're all like, you know what? It's not just boredom, but they're like, I'm going to show I could do this. I'll clear the puck myself off the glass. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, no, don't do this. Like, don't try this. Because, like, it's not going to, because if it doesn't work, buddy, then that's going to be empty. Like, and you're right. Goalies get burnt all the time now in the modern era because the game's so freaking fast. One mistake, bro. Like, they're going to bury it on you. And I guarantee you, coaches, like you said, there's certain goalies that are really good at it, but for the most part, it's just dangerous. So we got through the first period here in Los Angeles, and there's no goals. Sharks and the Kings. Man, I'm a little stressed here because I got the Kings connected to too many Canuck plays. I should have just been all Canucks, but even the Canucks are one goal away from not covering on the puck line right now. So it's 2-0 Canucks after 2 periods of play. It's scoreless after 1 period of play with the Sharks and the Kings, and it's all over. For the Pittsburgh Penguins, they're losing 5-2 right now with under 5 minutes remaining.
I had a really good night, but I thought the Penguins are going to win. So I guess that streak's over, Gabe. I think, from what I read, they won 11 straight games on the road against Arizona. So, but I don't know how many games of those were at the Mullet. So, hey, man, this Arizona Coyotes team, you can say what you want about them. They're a Jekyll and Hyde hockey team. You watch them, some nights I'm like, wow, they look amazing. Yeah, they're very. That's one thing, George. You always get a quality effort. Gabe was talking about that earlier. They're one of the hardest working teams in the league. You got to bring your lunch pail and helmet when you come play the Coyotes. That's for sure.
The Phoenix Suns came back and beat the Chicago Bulls. We willed it home, calling them gutless. 115-113 was the final score. It was good. I had them in moneyline parlays. I'm glad. So we'll take it. Now we're calling the LA Kings gutless.
Yeah, they are gutless. Gutless hockey.
Gutless
team,
Kings. Yeah. Come on.
True.
Underachieving bastards.
Sharks, like this is a serious time. Like, these guys are supposed to be like Stanley Cup contenders. Like, get it together, man. What's
They're not
the deal?
scoring. They haven't scored in weeks now. They cannot put the puck in the net for whatever reason here. It's been frustrating because the goaltending's been all right. Defense has been solid, but they're not putting the puck in the net.
You know, I saw something tonight. They were saying things are so bad for the Sharks. Good to know, too. because they got to be playing. Maybe tomorrow they're playing, I think. The Barracudas, their AHL team, the San Jose Barracudas, they've lost 9 straight games. That's when you know, like, your organization's bad. Like, you've got problems. Like, your farm team has lost 9 straight. Your pro team has lost 7 of their last 10. Like, it's not a fun time to be the president of hockey operations right now.
I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I remember I was down in San Jose. Those teams were playoff contenders every year. They had classic battles with the Canucks. I was at a couple of those games. Like, this organization, remember when Pavelski was there and stuff? They were very close. Very close, right, George? Like, they were very, very close to winning, like, the Stanley Cup. They went deep. Vegas beat them. They beat, remember? Like, it's just, like, what happened here? Like, they went from, like, a top 4 or 5 team in the league to the worst.
They probably gave up on Pavelski a little too early, right? They let him go. Thornton went. And people forget, as far as the Maple Leafs signing Tavares, and the Islanders should have had him, San Jose offered the most money. Yep, they offered the most money for Tavares, and he didn't go. So they were trying to keep it up, but in the end, didn't work out there. But they did try.
They hung on too long, though. That was their thing, to the Marlows and the Thorntons and stuff. It wasn't working, and they kept trying over and over and over. I'm looking here. I was like, who did they draft last year? William Smith. So they are stockpiling young talent. They're obviously going to have a top pick in the draft again this year. So, we'll see if they can just sort of put this thing together. But they're literally, the NHL, it's really hard to build a winner, man. It takes a while. Mm-hmm. So, like, they're going to need, like, 3 or 4 of these drafts type of thing, 5 of these drafts to rebuild.
Better find a goalie.
Sort of like the Montreal Canadiens. Yeah. I mean, they've been the Canadiens thing. They're just, every year they suck, and they're just stockpiling all these top 10 picks.
See the stat? They have 6 guys on their team shooting over 19%. That's ludicrous. Like, that is an amazing stat.
Not bad.
That's fair. No, not bad. Not bad at all.
I'm saying, they vary their opportunities, that team. They don't need a lot of shots.
They sure do.
The Lions were going to blow out the Rams, and in the first half I was like, all right, I got one right here on this one. And then the Lions, what happened, Jacob? They stopped playing.
The Lions offense is more of a complete unit right now because they have a really strong run game, and I know Tampa's run defense is good too, but all they need is David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs to do a little, and that'll open things up for Jared Goff.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Last year, the Purdue Boilermakers upset by the 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson. Is history going to repeat itself?
Purdue is capable of winning 6 games in the NCAA tournament, but the fact is, until Purdue proves that it's capable of not just advancing, but advancing far in the bracket in March, this is going to be the storyline. And I've said that to you throughout the offseason.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I can see why people would bet Boston at minus about 45, but I think the two of them are so exciting and so talented and so awesome. I went with and made the bet of the over 6.5.
There are issues with football character. Always doing the right thing, being in the right spot, being highly coachable. Why do they continue to fail in the big moments? It's football character, Pharrell. It's not a talent issue. That has nothing to do with it.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They were best friends. Like Siakam's best friend on the team was Chris Boucher. Chris Boucher's best friend on the team was Pascal Siakam. They're not American, right? So there's different cliques in the NBA, and they were very, very tight. So Chris Boucher, I got rattled seeing Chris Boucher and thinking about the memories. But Raptors responded.
SportsRage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
One that's been to a sporting event. The atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Wild night tonight in the National Basketball Association on the anniversary, the 18th anniversary of Kobe Bryant's 81-point explosion against my Toronto Raptors. Joel Embiid scored 70 points tonight. Karl Anthony Towns scored 62. Embiid just absolutely goes off. Unbelievable performance. 18 rebounds as well. 5 assists in 37 minutes. And, listen, man, Karl Anthony Towns had 62 points tonight, but they managed to lose the game as 12.5-point favorites. Victor Wembanyama scored 33 tonight, actually, in 28 minutes as well. So a fun night in the association. We have one game going on. As we mentioned, the Phoenix Suns came back and won. One game going on right now. Trae Young is out for the Hawks tonight. Sacramento handling their business so far, 79-66 late in the third quarter of play right now. Lower scoring game for a Sacramento game. In-game total is 214.5. NHL hockey, it's 2-0 for the Canucks at the intermission, and we played 5 minutes now of the second period, and we're still scoreless. Listen, I don't mind. It is what it is, but I tell you what, I'm going to flip if the Kings don't score first here, guys. Like, if I don't want to be down 1-0 in this game. We need the LA Kings to score a goal fast. In-game total down to 3.5 right now.
It's annoying, concerning. I wasn't worried about this game, but now I am a little worried.
It's more annoying and
I'm getting a little impatient.
Scary.
I'm getting a little impatient with the Kings, to be honest.
This is the thing. Like, they just keep on.
What worries me is that
0-0, more SJ Sharks.
Well, we're getting late enough, Cam, now where if the Sharks score, we got a problem. No, we need the first goal of the game now.
I don't know
if you give up the first
game,
goal a minute in, it's like whatever.
I'm watching the game. It's right in front of me. It looks like the Kings are controlling play. We all know it's one stupid little play, and the Sharks are going to get an 18-hopper that goes in the net. And now we're going to be scrambling for a goal for the next I just missed. For the next 35 minutes of hockey play here. So, thanks, guy. I really wasn't worried about this. You guys started bringing it up. Now I keep watching the game. Like, they really can't lose this, can they?
They're still minus 300. I got to be honest with you. If you lay 300 with the Kings right now, if they do win, that's just ridiculous. Like, they don't win games big enough for them to be a 3-1 favorite, Gabe. It's just bottom line.
I've got them in 2 parlays to close out. I got a Kings-Canucks parlay. And I got another one, Kansas basketball, Vancouver Canucks and the LA Kings. And I also have another one with the Kings minus 1.5. So
it's funny,
we need that first goal.
Kansas won and Cincinnati covered there. Do you know, Gabe, the Cincinnati Bearcats in the last 5, like their 4 losses out of the 5 have been a total of 8 points, and tonight by 5. So all they do is play tight games. They lose those real tight ones. They beat TCU, but they've been a covering machine with these games against higher-ranked teams. Let's give the Bearcats some love.
Yeah, Kansas is one of these teams. Every game's a big game, so they're not in peak form right now, Kansas.
Yep.
Right, like they'll be fine in the tournament, but they're not in peak form, even though they won tonight. So speaking of winning, the Detroit Lions are winning, and they're going back to the NFC Conference Championship game for the first time since 1992. Yet everybody's talking about Lion fan yesterday crushing this $250 masterpiece of a sandwich that contains 4 different meats, 9 different, you have a choice of 9 different sauces. It sort of looks like a club sandwich from here, but I guess there's like different meat in it. So it turns out that this guy is he's a season ticket holder, George. He goes to every home game, and this is his thing. He buys this sandwich every game, and he crushes it himself. I'm assuming he brings some of this home after. It's supposed to feed 10 to 12 people, Cam.
Yeah, so this guy's a professional
Like it says
leader.
when you buy it, feeds like 10 to 12. So it's like, 10 bucks, 20 bucks each. You're you and your buddies, you pass the sandwich around down the row. All right, guys, give me a piece of that.
Yeah, that's right.
Thing's a freaking hockey stick on his shish kebab. This guy's sitting there. Put the picture. He's sitting there with his big thing. Look at this thing. Look how big it is.
It's amazing.
So he has to hold him too to make sure it doesn't fall.
What do you do if you got to go take a leak? You just hold it
Right,
up.
you
You whiz it out. You're holding your back here. You're holding it up.
You hold my stick.
Hold my sandwich for a second.
That doesn't sound too good. Can you hold my stick?
No, what do you do? Like give it to your neighbor? He holds it in his lap? Like you can't take that to the can with you. What are you going to do?
What is that? That's like about 4 feet.
It's too big. It's too big to carry. It's like awkward to have, bro.
He's got to be sharing it. Come on.
I once had a friend of mine. Now this is back when we were younger. Okay, probably in our 20s. He bet me during a football Sunday, and this is not when there was no night games back then. So from 1 to 7, that he could finish a 6-foot hero. He bet me this. Do you think he won the bet?
No, I think
small guy, by the way. He's a small guy, not a big guy, not a professional eater or anything. No, he won the bet. He finished a damn 6-foot hero. I couldn't believe watching him eat this thing. It was like you got to be. I mean, it was a legitimate, Italian hero, American one inside. He got the meats he wanted, the sauce or whatever he wanted, but unbelievable.
I might live to regret this, but I'm taking under 4.5 in the Canucks game.
You know what, Gabe? I don't hold on here. This thing's locked, and San Jose's. This is not good right now.
It's gonna go.
George, watch the game. What's going on,
Kings game?
What's going on?
The Vancouver games in two periods. There's nothing going on.
Oh, Shark game. Okay, I don't know why.
There's no reason for it to be locked. They're playing.
I don't think Chicago are going to score. I think Vancouver will score another maybe 2, like 4-0. I don't think they're going to score 3 goals in the 5th. They're up 2-0. They're going to grind through here in this period. Mm-hmm. They're going to win 3-0, 4-0 or something, I think. I'm not going to go crazy. Oh, of course, that's why it locked. All right, so Chicago Blackhawks team total. What's the team? The Blackhawks. All right, I want to see what the see if the Blackhawks to score a goal here is. All right, Blackhawk totals.
Oh crap!
I know the Sharks scored, man.
The Sharks scored. They scored on the delay. They scored on the delay. They didn't even get to the power play.
This is every hockey bettor's last game parlay. One of these big minus 400 favorites going to bite the dust. You saw it. It's just the Kings. These guys. What do you do now? Do you take the Sharks or you just ride this thing out? Like, what do you do? They're still dogs.
Got to hope that the Kings wake up after this now.
Yeah, I don't know.
The Ranger game last night. The Rangers were down to the Ducks 2-0 late in the second period. They scored, make it 2-1. They blew them out the third period.
Yeah, that's true. We'll just ride it out.
But if you bet the Rangers, that's you're getting plus 130.
Just a question. When you're laying a minus
Rangers are better than the Kings.
Yes, they are. And how many people betting hockey need this as their last game of their parlay? I can tell you, I would say 9 out of 10 games. Like,
yeah. The bookmakers are really going to be happy if the Sharks win.
Yeah. Oh, you said it, Gabe. They'll be like high-fiving in the room. Yeah, SG Sharky.
Every parlay is going to lose on the way out.
This is it. We fell for it. Oh, boy.
So speaking of losing, the Buffalo Bills, I'm going to get into this in level 3 with Mo Cod. And I'll share my thoughts on another Buffalo Bill collapse. George, what are your thoughts on this? What did you think of the Bills-Chiefs game? And then what do you think of the Chiefs and the Ravens coming up?
I thought it was a fantastic game. Extremely entertaining. I thought everything was going the Buffalo Bills' way, right? I mean, Harbin fumbles at the 1-yard line. That fumble that should have been recovered by the Chiefs, but the guy tried to scoop and score rather than fall on it. The Bills got it back. Everything was going to be going the Buffalo Bills' way, and to lose that way by wide right again is just horrific. This is why I like to say when my teams, I much rather my teams get blown out. I don't have to worry about it. I thought that loss yesterday was just heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. But it was a great game, and you feel bad for Josh Allen, who I see on Twitter now is catching a lot of crap. What do you want the guy to do? I understand he missed the one throw late, but what do you want him to do? I mean, he did all he could do there. Like I said, I thought it was just heartbreaking. Just heartbreaking for the Bills.
It's always heartbreaking. They always find a way to lose in the most heartbreaking fashion. They just do. I saw something today, though, that was actually interesting. And it's, media narratives with cities and stuff like that. But like Detroit. Oh, Detroit, they lose all the time. It's so great. A city that hasn't been to a championship, has won since 1991, is Minneapolis, St. Paul. Like, they don't win. Like, the Twins haven't won. Like, no one wins. The Wild hasn't won. The Vikings never win. like you know what I mean? True. They've been through a lot, too. There's different markets and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, the Red Wings have won. The Pistons have won. It's just been the Lions, right? So it sort of gets this sort of, Detroit never wins thing. I brought it up before. Like, look, the Arizona Cardinals suck, and the Chargers suck. They don't get the same type of sympathy card because they play in nice weather cities. But Speaking of the Detroit Lions, Scott Farrell was talking about the Lions today with Jennifer Hammond from Fox Sports in Detroit. Check out Farrell's show. I join him every day at 3:25 Eastern time. Let's see what Jennifer had to say.
Yesterday was no joke. I was doing the game, and I thought it was no joke. When they were up 2 scores, I thought they got soft, and Mayfield cut through them like butter when he threw to Evans at the 1. And didn't you think they were going to go down and try to tie it and go to overtime?
I absolutely did. But there was something about this team that it doesn't have that. You're familiar, obviously, with the SOL, the same old Lions feel. This team is resilient, and I knew that they've got dogs on defense. They're not the greatest. I mean, they're leaky at times. They're going to give up big chunk plays. They're going to give up explosive plays to really good receivers. But part of their charm is there's always a guy that finds a way. Aiden Hutchinson against the Bears midseason, the strip sack. Yesterday, Derek Barnes with the interception. There's just always a guy. Even in Green Bay, they did it too. On the road in Kansas City, they did it. So there's just something about this defense and a belief that this team has inside that locker room. And it starts with MCDC, obviously. We got to give full credit to him, Brad Holmes. And going back to your point about the dog days here when people thought, that it was total futility and they shouldn't even have the Thanksgiving game. There is something to be said now for the competency within this organization that starts at the top. Sheila Ford Hamp came in. She took over. She made sure that she got things right from the bottom, from the basement all the way to the attic. She got things finished off. She got some insulation put in. She hired the right people around her. And you know the story. Everybody was kind of making fun of Dan Campbell when he was first hired here. But that is not the tenor anymore in this city.
Big game this week for the Detroit Lion organization, trying to make it to their first ever Super Bowl. George, how do you feel about their matchup against the San Francisco 49ers, who are 7-point favorites?
So I think they have a shot here, right? I know it was raining and miserable for the San Fran game, but Purdy looked terrible. So he's got to play much better than that. That being said, I think he will against the Detroit Lions secondary that's leaky, as Hammond said, to put it nicely. They're going to give up some big plays. How healthy is Debo going to be? Right? He's got the shoulder. They say it's not cracked, just very sore. They'll know more on Wednesday and Thursday. They really could use a healthy Debo here. I don't think. Bottom line is this: I have San Fran going, so I'm not going to go against that here. But I think this is a game. I certainly think the Lions have a puncher's chance here. If Goff doesn't get rattled, you run the ball with Gibbs, who can be very explosive here. If Hutchinson keeps playing the way he's playing, he's got 8 sacks in his last 4 games. He's a man possessed right now. So he's played great here. I think they have a shot here. That being said, I'm on the Niners.
Aiden Hutchinson, a Michigan Wolverine, George. That's why he's so good. Jared Goff's record. Jared Goff's record versus the San Francisco 49ers is 3-6. Just saying, just for the record. Yeah, no. It's pretty crazy, actually. I saw a thing yesterday. Most players in the playoffs, actually, for schools was Michigan and Notre Dame.
The Lions we're going to blow out the Rams. And in the first half, I was like, all right, I got one right here on this one. And then the Lions, what happened, Jacob? They stopped playing.
The Lions offense is more of a complete unit right now because they have a really strong run game. And I know Tampa's run defense is good too, but all they need is David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs to do a little, and that'll open things up for Jared Goff.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Last year, the Purdue Boilermakers upset by the 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson. Is history going to repeat itself?
Purdue is capable of winning 6 games in the NCAA tournament, but the fact is, until Purdue proves that it's capable of not just advancing, but advancing far in the bracket in March, this is going to be the storyline. And I've said that to you throughout the offseason.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
I can see why people would bet Boston at minus about 45, but I think the two of them are so exciting and so talented and so awesome. I went with and made the bet of the over 6.5.
There are issues with football character. Always doing the right thing, being in the right spot, being highly coachable. Why do they continue to fail in the big moments? It's football character, Pharrell. It's not a talent issue. That has nothing to do with it.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They were best friends. Like Siakam's best friend on the team was Chris Boucher. Chris Boucher's best friend on the team was Pascal Siakam. They're not American, right? So there's different cliques in the NBA, and they were very, very tight. So Chris Boucher, I got rattled seeing Chris Boucher and thinking about the memories. But Raptors responded.
SportsRage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
One that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Shout out to our boy Ghoster. Is it the year of the Lion? As he raises a good point. Jared Goff, of course, went to high school in the Bay Area. He was the Cal quarterback, so it is a homecoming for Jared Goff. Listen, the Lions are playing with house money coming into this football game. All the pressure is on the San Francisco 49ers. They haven't finished the job either in the same way a lot of these other teams that don't get the same criticism that they do. But a big difference is the Lions' last 2 games have been at home. And you're not going to find a more electric atmosphere than Ford Field was over the last 2 home playoff games. Now you're putting them outdoors, not as fast as a field, slows down Gibbs a little bit. And San Francisco's not an easy place to play. And by the way, the Detroit Lions haven't won in San Francisco since 1975. George, who are you leaning with the Chiefs and the Raven game?
I'm going Baltimore here, right? Chiefs they're another team that's really banged up. We don't know if Thuney's going to play. He's got the pectoral strain, so I guess they're lucky that wasn't a tear there. Ravens getting healthier. Humphrey coming back. Mark Andrews. I think Mark Andrews is coming back. A little surprised he didn't play this week. I'm on Baltimore San Fran. I have a ticket from weeks ago. I'm not changing that up here. And I think Kansas City, I think the magic ran out, right? Buffalo probably should have won that game, maybe. So I think they gave it all up there. I think it'll be another good game here, but I think it's a game where as it moves along, Baltimore pulls away.
It's a good point that you raised as far as Kansas City. They lost a lot of bodies as that game was going on yesterday as well. And no excuses for the Bills, but the Bills' defense was basically all backups. It would have been a miracle if the Bills would have survived. They probably would have been in trouble going to Baltimore anyways, even if they did somehow. So, Cam, 30 seconds. The L.A. Kings look like they're going to let us down unless they find something, down 2-0 right now.
Yeah, parlay killer. San Jose's on the power play, minus 350. And Gabe, the golf this week, I know Brady's going to come on a day early because of the football Wednesday to Saturday tournament this week at Torrey Pines. Lots of fun, buddy, but let's pray the Kings do something in the third. Pray.
Mo Khan stepping up and in at level 3. Let's roll. This is Sports Rage. I am Gabriel Morency, the pimps, the players, the hustlers, the people that bust them, and everybody else in between. The countdown to the Super Bowl is on for real right now. And then there were 4. I was just thinking, so what do we got? We got 3 games left. We've got 2 games, conference championship games, and the Super Bowl. And, you know, when you're a fan of an NFL team, if you're a fan of any team, it's always like, it always sucks when you're eliminated. You know what I mean? Because the party goes on without you. And, you know, it's like, well, another Super Bowl without the Buffalo Bills in it. And the Bills have had their opportunities in the Super Bowls before. But, right, it's like, all right, Kansas City, great. Like, you know, as if we're not all sick, especially Bills fans. Like, you know, I got to talk about Kansas City all week, KC this and that. And you see Mahomes, oh, they wanted this and they got it and all this. Mahomes plays up the nice guy act, but you see when he loses, he's a big bitch. And then when he wins, though, then he talks smack after. At least Buffalo Bill fans did try to hit him with snowballs. Right on where, which, you know, wasn't, you know, not surprising, to be honest with you. So painful loss. We'll get into the Buffalo Bills, and Mo Khan will step up and in. What can the Bills do moving forward to avoid this? Listen, they have a ton of free agents, and there's going to be a big roster turnover for the Buffalo Bills, as it is already. And their problem is going to be that Josh Allen makes a lot of money. And you see, like the Kansas City Chiefs, people talk, oh, they don't have wide receivers. Yeah, because they don't have any money, right? Patrick Mahomes makes all the money. So you put yourself in a difficult situation. Shout out to everybody joining us on Sirius XM Channel 159. This is Sports Rage. I am Gabriel Morency on the SportsGrid Radio Network's countdown to the Final Four is now on as life goes on without the Buffalo Bills. And I don't know what it is about the Buffalo Bills. Like, you know what I mean? It's unique. Like, movies can be made about them. They're a unique organization and a unique team that, like, fascinates people from the outside. And, like, that, like I said, like, a lot of teams don't win, right? Like, the Dallas Cowboys don't win, and it's like, you know, media coverage and, like, on, you know, the internet nearly breaks and stuff. But the Buffalo Bills are right there somehow with their failures, yet they're not the only ones, right? Like, the Bills are actually a good organization that just can't find a way to get over the top. And what can they do to get over the top? It's always tough when you're good. If you suck, you know, we need to get a bunch of new players, right? We need to get a new coach. We need to get a new quarterback. The Buffalo Bills are actually good. They just never win, right? And there's always something. Well, if this didn't happen or that didn't happen, but, you know, 99 things have happened over the years, all right? From missed field goals to Music City miracles to lateral passes to, you know, we could go on. And, you know, Tom Brady dominated the Bills. He was like 33-2 or something, like, you know, 32-3, 35 games against the Bills. It was like, all right, finally Brady's gone. And then boom, Mahomes. And you know what's crazy about it that doesn't get talked about enough? the irony of this, right? Like, Josh Allen is 5-0 in the playoffs. He's 0-4. He's 0-3. He's 0-3 against Mahomes, 0-1 against Burrow. So he's 0-4 against Burrow and Mahomes. He's 5-0 against everyone else. But you know what the crazy irony is? The Buffalo Bills traded their first-round pick with the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Chiefs drafted Patrick Mahomes. So not only has Patrick Mahomes terrorized the Buffalo Bills, right? Not only has he terrorized the Buffalo Bills are the reason that they got Patrick Mahomes. Now, the thing is, though, it wasn't like Patrick Mahomes was Victor Wembanyama or something, all right? Nobody was talking about Patrick Mahomes coming into the NFL draft. Nobody. Like, it was out of, left field that Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs saw something that nobody else saw, right? But it's one of those deals, right? Like, if you go back, look at the scouting reports, look at mock drafts and stuff. Where was Mahomes supposed to go? Right? No one was like, you got to get this Mahomes guy. We saw him at Texas Tech. Texas Tech weren't even good when he was there. Right? I mean, he was athletic. He had a good arm and stuff. He was throwing bombs. He was running around. They'd lose, 60-48 all the time and stuff. But people weren't thinking of Mahomes was the next great thing. Andy Reid at the time said he reminds me of Brett Favre. I think he's special, and he could be a great quarterback. Well, evidently he is, but the irony that the Buffalo Bills were the ones that actually traded the damn pick to the Kansas City Chiefs, and then he goes on to terrorize them in the fashion. Now, we should note the Kansas City Chiefs players said that the Buffalo Bills are a petty-ass organization who shut the hot water off after the game when they were taking their showers. You know what? I don't think that's the case, bro. I just think they're that cheap, actually. We're talking about an organization, that asked their fans to shovel snow. I think Pagula probably did the same thing for the Bills. Season's over. Turn the hot water off. It's done. Let's roll. This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency. The pimps, the players, the hustlers, the people of Muslim, and everybody else in between. Level 3 has begun. Shout out to everybody joining us right now. The evolution of the Rage Illusion. The 50,000-watt juggernaut in the house, the mightier 1090 ESPN Radio SoCal, repping this evening as we're down to the Final Four of the National Football League. But let's start off in the association because it was one of those crazy nights tonight in the NBA on the 18th anniversary of Kobe Bryant going off for 81 against the Toronto Raptors as Kobe Bryant, of course, scored 2006, scored 81 points. I'm thinking, it's probably people tuning in right now. They're like, what? He scored doing what? Like, we got younger people maybe tuning in. But on the anniversary, Joel Embiid goes off for 70 tonight, lights up Victor Wembanyama, who still, Victor scored 33 in his own right. But Joel Embiid absolutely goes off, 70 points, 18 rebounds, 5 assists. And you know what? It's super cool. It's a hell of an accomplishment. I couldn't score 7 points in an NBA game, let alone 70 points, all right? So it's a hell of an accomplishment. But we're at the point right now with Embiid, we're going to call Josh Allen out and everybody else. So what about the Philadelphia 76ers? Who cares? I don't want to say who cares, but whatever, dude. So you put up a bunch of numbers tonight against the crap-ass San Antonio Spurs, one of the worst teams in modern history in the NBA. Can you do it in a playoff game? And I'm not talking about scoring 70. Can you stay healthy and actually win in the playoffs? It is about winning, right? Karl-Anthony Towns went off for 62 tonight, but they lost as 12.5-point favorites. Say what? That's nearly impossible. So Karl-Anthony Towns scored 62 points for the Minnesota Timberwolves tonight, but they actually lost as 12.5-point favorites to the Charlotte Hornets this evening. That's pretty whacked. But there's a lot of whack stuff, including all the losers that are sending death threats to the kicker of the Buffalo Bills. All right? You should be sending death threats to yourselves for being such losers. Seriously. And secondly, I don't know, are people that stupid? You really, Mahomes scored with 13 seconds left against the Bills. You think he was going to score with 1:47 left? Mo Khan steps up and in. Level 3, bring it.
I really thought the Lions were going to blow out the Rams. And in the first half, I was like, all right, I got one right here on this one. And then the Lions, what happened, Jacob? They stopped playing.
The Lions offense is more of a complete unit right now because they have a really strong run game. And I know Tampa's run defense is good too, but all they need is David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs to do a little, and that'll open things up for Jared Goff.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Last year, the Purdue Boilermakers upset by the 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson. Is history going to repeat itself?
Purdue is capable of winning 6 games in the NCAA tournament, but the fact is, until Purdue proves that it's capable of not just advancing, but advancing far in the bracket in March, this is going to be the storyline. And I've said that to you throughout the offseason.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I can see why people would bet Boston at minus about 45, but I think the two of them are so exciting and so talented and so awesome. I went with and made the bet of the over 6.5.
There are issues with football character. Always doing the right thing, being in the right spot, being highly coachable. Why do they continue to fail in the big moments? It's football character, Pharrell. It's not a talent issue. That has nothing to do with it.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They were best friends. Like Siakam's best friend on the team was Chris Boucher. Chris Boucher's best friend on the team was Pascal Siakam. They're not American, right? So there's different cliques in the NBA. And they were very, very tight. So Chris Boucher, I got rattled seeing Chris Boucher and thinking about the memories, but Raptors responded.
SportsRage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
One that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Gabriel Morency, Sirius XM Channel 159, shout out to all of our AM radio affiliates, stepping up and in for the last hour of the program. We've covered a lot of in-game stuff tonight and talked about the NBA and Embiid going off for 70, Cat went off for 62. We've been tracking the NHL action. We haven't really given our analysis and a post-mortem of the Buffalo Bills. As a lifelong Buffalo Bill fan, I'm kind of numb to this. And, you know, it's settled in, but I've just sort of, like I said, I'm sort of numb to this, and this is just one of another. I had a weird flashback yesterday when I was watching the game to a weird random game that many people wouldn't remember tuning in now. But it was when the Cincinnati Bengals went to the Super Bowl with the Icky Shuffle. Let's bring in Mo Khan right now. So it was the Bengals. When the Bengals went to the Super Bowl with the Icky Shuffle, they beat the Buffalo Bills in the AFC Conference Championship game. Jim Kelly and all those guys. And then after, they ended up winning the AFC. But Boomer Esiason beat them. I had a weird flashback to that yesterday, Mo. And not I'm talking in the second quarter of the Bills game. And I was watching and I was thinking, man, I've been through a lot with this team. And I was thinking, people think about modern losses and stuff. And for whatever reason, I was like, man, even before we lost the 4 Super Bowls in a row, it was hard to get to those Super Bowls. Like they lost to the Browns in the playoffs, and they lost to the Bengals in the playoffs. And, it's just been such a never-ending road, and the road just continues. They just can't find a way to get it done, Mo. And to me, the Buffalo Bills loss yesterday was a collective team loss. And not to be overly critical of a team that literally had like 7 backups playing defense, but with all that being stated, Stephon Diggs drops the pass that would have been like on NFL films for the rest of eternity. Drops the perfect 80-yard pass through the air. Bass misses the field goal. Josh Allen, despite his greatness for whatever reason, goes for the home run, tries to throw it into the end zone instead of just dumping it off to Diggs that would have put him in sure shot field goal territory at least and taking more time off the clock. McDermott's in-game decisions. All right, never mind the fake punt. For me, the biggest thing, Mo, that bothered me the most was when there was like 2:30 left and the Buffalo Bills decided not to run a play to get it to the 2-minute warning. When, bro, they were on like the 45-yard line and you're losing. Like the clock shouldn't have been a concern. The concern should have been we need to score a touchdown against this team that scored on us with 13 seconds left once. Even if Bass makes that field goal, Mo, he's got like $1.45 left to work with after. Complete mismanagement by the Buffalo Bills at the end of the game.
Yeah, look, Gabe, I said to my buddy yesterday, this is the 1980s Cleveland Browns against John Elway and the Broncos, right? They just couldn't overcome that hump, and it cost the Browns eons of misery for them. And this Buffalo Bills duplicate pretty much is the exact same carbon copy of what the Browns were to the Broncos in the late 80s. And I think yesterday it was such a punch-for-punch game, Gabe, that in the fourth quarter, this went off script, right? With the fumble, with the fake punt not going the way of the Buffalo Bills. But in that final 2:45, Gabe, threes are not going to beat the Chiefs. It's 7 points that will beat the Chiefs. It was a matter of managing the clock and scoring 7, and they completely botched that moment here. And look, Josh Allen is 5-5 in his playoff record. He is throwing for 27 touchdowns, 4 INTs. But those 2 plays that you mentioned right now, the deep ball into the end zone that should have gone to Diggs, the fact that he couldn't get more yards to put this in better field goal range, didn't help the Buffalo Bills. And I thought Sean McDermott got out-coached, out-foxed in the final 3 minutes of that football game and how he approached it. And now for Buffalo Bills fans, and hearing the local Buffalo radio this morning, they are in devastation mode. It is tears beyond belief that this was their chance to perhaps beat the Kansas City Chiefs, their arch nemesis, and they couldn't do it, Gabe. And now they go to this long off season where they're $43 million over the cap. They're a very old team at certain positions of this football roster, and this might be a different look of how they'll be now to what they could be come week 1 on September 5th.
Oh, there's definitely going to be changes. One thing I will say, Bills fans, there's a lot of great ones, right? And, Bills Mafia, too, was never like a bunch of drunk people in the parking lot. It was actually a charitable endeavor. They're not crazy like the founders of Bills Mafia. And it turned into this big thing and whatnot. Now, Bills games are psychotic. And like the tailgate, like people are really nuts, and it is over the top. So we saw yesterday someone, got caught on fire, right? That's just par for the course. But there's also an ugliness to it. And I saw a video of Gabriel Davis. I don't know what they're mad about Gabriel Davis about. He didn't even play in the game. So Gabriel Davis got into it with Bills fans on the sidelines after the game. I know it was very ugly with Stephon Diggs walking off the field yesterday as well. And, we saw the reports today. Bass had to shut down his social media because of death threats and just the overall stupidity of everything. And I'm not going to blame Bill fan for that because there's people online and there's losers everywhere. But, it's just that's an ugly side of sports, isn't it, Mo? We love you, we love you, we love you. Unless you win for us, then we effing hate you. And we're going to say crazy things to you because we're protected on another side that we would never say to you on the street face-to-face because you kicked the crap out of me.
Yeah, it's sad. It's really sad. I feel bad for Bass because now he's got to go into hiding. He's got to go. He has to go MIA for the next 4 or 5 months until he gets back into OTAs in springtime. My cousin was at the game. He flew in from Boston to go watch his Buffalo Bills, like you, a diehard fan. And the moment that Stephon Diggs dropped that ball, went through his hands on that deep pass from Josh Allen, everyone in his section said Diggs has to go. That was it for Stephon Diggs. And who knows, Gabe, right? He had 8 targets yesterday. He went 3 for 21 yards. Your number one receiver has not played well in the last 8 weeks of the regular season. I think he put like 300 yards in the last 8 weeks of the regular season into the playoffs. So where does Stephon Diggs stand now in terms of his positioning on the Buffalo Bills hierarchy? Does Josh Allen need a second receiver that has the speed burst that was lacking? Because, Gabe, you think about that second half. The Kansas City Chiefs decided to stack the box and tell Josh Allen and tell Joe Brady and tell the running game, beat us right now with what you have because we know you can't beat us over the top. And that's where the Bills lack that killer second receiver that can keep the secondary on their heels. And as a result, Gabe, you saw what happened in that second half. They couldn't move the ball as well as they did in the first half, with the running game being what it was in the first 2 quarters.
And then, Gabriel Davis didn't play, obviously, in the game. He would be that guy. Yeah, he's inconsistent as well. He plays well against the Chiefs for whatever reason, but he's inconsistent as well. And if I'm the Buffalo Bills, especially now, and you're not wrong about the Diggs situation, it just seems like there's stuff and it's going to blow at some point in time here. And when Brady took over, he wasn't part of the offense as much anymore, and then his drop is not good. But even if Diggs is back, because I think Allen and Diggs are fine, but I do think there is sort of this energy in the air around him. But they need to attack the draft and draft some wide receivers, right? They're going to have to find some playmakers, right? And like Shakir's a nice story and stuff, and he's, you know what I mean? But like, they're not good enough. Like, they're going to need, like, you see, like the Chiefs, all right, Rashee Rice, they found a guy. You're going to have to find some playmakers. Their biggest play was an 18-yard run, bro, right? Like, there was no, like you said, they don't have those playmakers. That's a problem. And that's something that's on Bills management that we knew coming into this year, Mo, quite frankly. You were a wide receiver. Wasn't like the Bills wide receiver room is weak compared to the other powers of the NFL, bro. Let's be real. Look at what the Bengals have, right? Look at what some of these other teams have. Like, the Bills wide receiver room is pretty thin.
It really is. And that's the thing now, right? For McDermott and the entire organization, can they find a dominant number 2 receiver to complement Stephon Diggs if he's at the Bills?
This is SportsRage.
The Lions were going to blow out the Rams, and in the first half I was like, all right, I got one right here on this one. And then the Lions, what happened, Jacob? They stopped playing.
The Lions offense is more of a complete unit right now because they have a really strong run game, and I know Tampa's run defense is good too, but all they need is David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs to do a little, and that'll open things up for Jared Goff.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Last year, the Purdue Boilermakers upset by the 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson. Is history going to repeat itself?
Purdue is capable of winning 6 games in the NCAA tournament, but the fact is, until Purdue proves that it's capable of not just advancing, but advancing far in the bracket in March, this is going to be the storyline. And I've said that to you throughout the offseason.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I can see why people would bet Boston at minus about 45. But I think the two of them are so exciting and so talented and so awesome. I went with and made the bet of the over 6.5.
There are issues with football character. Always doing the right thing, being in the right spot, being highly coachable. Why do they continue to fail in the big moments? It's football character, Pharrell. It's not a talent issue. That has nothing to do with it.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They were best friends. Like Siakam's best friend on the team was Chris Boucher. Chris Boucher's best friend on the team was Pascal Siakam. They're not American, right? So there's different cliques in the NBA, and they were very, very tight. So Chris Boucher, I got rattled seeing Chris Boucher, and thinking about the memories. But Raptors responded.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
One that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Gabriel Morency. So we're down to the final four right now. The Kansas City Chiefs survived their first ever road playoff game. Buffalo finds a way to lose to them once again. And we can spend hours going over the different reasons why the Buffalo Bills lose all the time. But it really is amazing the way that they lose. Because as I said, there's a lot of teams in the league, Mo, that haven't won a Super Bowl. And there's a lot of teams that haven't won in a long time. Right? But they're not in the playoffs all the time. These other, like, you're just bad, like the Cardinals or, just the Jags for years. Like, there's a lot of bad teams. They're never, you don't really think of them. They're not in the playoffs, so they don't get criticized. But it really is amazing, actually. Like I said, like, even going back to, like, before the Super Bowls, there was a playoff game against the Browns in which their receiver, Don Beebe, landed on his head. That's why he always wore that big helmet after, because he landed on his head and he fumbled the ball. In the same game, if you remember, we're going back a ways now, people, but Ronnie Harmon, was wide open in the end zone, and he dropped it. It was just like people like, you know what I mean? Like, this has been going on for forever, right? So, I was thinking about that, about Don Beebe landing on his head, Ronnie Harmon dropping the ball. Then you get into the Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl, the missed field goal. Although I always thought that was a bad narrative, Mo. Yeah. The Bills got dominated on the ground in that game, right? The New York Giants had the ball for 41 minutes. The Bills set a record, right. I know, because they set a record. They scored a point a minute. They had the ball for 19 minutes, and they scored 19 points, right? But the Bills couldn't stop the Giants' ground game, and it was really annoying. If the Giants needed 3, they got 4. So they never popped off a big run, and they ate the clock up all the time. They literally got 3 yards, and then 4 yards. 4 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards. And they kept on getting these first downs. They ate the clock up. Norwood ends up missing the kick. That's the narrative. They get blown out pretty much by Washington in the Super Bowl. There's not a lot of bad whatever. They just sucked. Washington beat them. They got absolutely murdered and destroyed and embarrassed by the Cowboys at the Rose Bowl. And then the following year, they played the Cowboys again in Atlanta, and they're actually winning at the half. That was the one that hurt the most. They were winning at the half. They screwed that up. You had the Music City Miracle, benching Flutie. You had the 13 seconds. And I'm sure there's many others. It's just all at the top of my head here right now. Yeah, so like I said, this is just another one. This is just another one. Whatever, dude. And like I said, Bats hits that field goal, bro. Mahomes is scoring after Mo. There's not a doubt in my mind. Look, the Bills weren't stopping him. They were going to go down the field, and Bucker's a good kicker. So he wasn't going to miss. So blaming the kicker for the Bills' loss, I think, is stupid. But as far as Kansas City is concerned, they got pretty beat up in that football game. And no excuses for the Buffalo Bills from the Bills' standpoint of all the injuries they had on the defensive side of the football. But Baltimore's defense is a lot better than Buffalo's is right now. And they're a hell of a lot healthier than Buffalo's defense is right now. So this is going to be a different task for the Kansas City Chief offense than they just played against the Bills backups and backups of backups.
Right. And one thing to look at in that Bills game yesterday on Sunday, the front four had no pressure on Mahomes, right? Ed Oliver was irrelevant in that football game. And that's where they got exposed, as you said before. The injuries caught up to the Buffalo Bills and how they couldn't play well. I think the Baltimore Ravens, as you said now, are a bit healthier. But this is a team that matches up well with the Kansas City Chiefs on offense and defense here. This is a top 3 NFL defense right now, right? You look at Jadeveon Clowney, a guy who was discarded by multiple NFL teams, finding a home in Baltimore. He's become a revelation for them. They have great interior pass rushing, and they have great exterior pass rushing. So the question now is, and keep this in mind, right? The Chiefs' O-line is also banged up, as you made the point. How healthy will they be? And they have been the most penalized team when it comes to Jawan Taylor as a left tackle. And if they get that one-on-one matchup on Sunday where, hey, Clowney or whoever else is rushing against Jawan Taylor has that edge, that could cost the Chiefs maybe yards or a big play that might be nullified by Jawan Taylor. So how disciplined can the Chiefs' O-line be? Because if they're not, and if Joe Thuney isn't healthy enough and they don't have a healthy O-line, this could be a tricky game for Mahomes to win this all on his arm and legs, to be a mad scientist to kind of outfox the Baltimore Ravens defense on Sunday afternoon.
And also, there seems to be some sort of magical spell that they have over the Buffalo Bills. That they haven't played Baltimore, right? So we'll see now if this is just some sort of weird Buffalo thing. And I don't want to sound spiteful, because championship teams find ways to win, right? But the Kansas City Chiefs are beatable. The Buffalo Bills should have beaten them, right? But we can say that numerous times. One thing I found interesting, though, that Mahomes said after the game yesterday, that I did get a chuckle out of, even being a Buffalo Bill fan, when he said, everybody said that we never played a road playoff game before. He goes, we played a Super Bowl in Tampa. It was a good line. He said, we played a Super Bowl in Tampa against the Bucks. And he goes, it was kind of a road playoff game. And he goes, we lost. And he said, I didn't want to bring that up this week because it's not, he goes, it was negative. But he goes, I found it funny that you all said that all week, that we never played a road playoff game. It's a good point, because none of us brought that up, right? I didn't bring it up. None of us said, you played a Super Bowl against Tampa. Like, it's kind of a road playoff game, even though it was a Super Bowl. But it is different. But Mahomes basically said, whatever, big games are big games no matter where they are. So I think maybe it was a little bit overblown. But with that being stated, consecutive road game right now, a little bit beat up. And Baltimore was on cruise control by the end of that game last week. And they get a little bit, KC's in that little bit of tougher spot. They got to heal another day, shorter week for KC coming into this. I do think I think it's Baltimore's game to lose here, Mo. I think Baltimore are going to win the football game.
Yeah, it's all on them, Gabe. The stars are aligned. You look at Lamar Jackson, how he's played. Look, he hasn't been required to throw for 350. He's done it by being a perfect game manager, surprisingly enough, where he's milking the clock to the last second. You think about that second half against the Houston Texans, Gabe. I think Houston had the ball for less than 5 minutes in the second half. It was all Baltimore, right? They controlled the clock.
Very Michigan-like. It's funny. Michigan did the same thing.
It really was, right?
They had the ball. They milked the clock, milked the possession.
Right. And it's funny enough, Gabe, it is similar parallels, right? Because the Harbaughs, right? How they kind of employ the
That's why I bring it up. Same mentality. Right. And it keeps their defense fresh. So when they're on the field, these guys have been standing on the sidelines for 10 minutes. They're all like ready to fly around.
Right. And that's why I'll be curious to see what Todd Monken will deploy on Sunday afternoon, right? Is he going to start putting similar game plan to Buffalo where they're going to run? And then the third, fourth quarter, you would hope the Chiefs kind of tire out because, again, that was a taxing game for Kansas City to go through in Buffalo. And, to play 2 consecutive road games is not easy in the playoffs. And you think about how KC was in their defense. They're banged up. So how healthy will they be in stopping the run? And I think Baltimore, with a 3-headed attack, even 4-headed running game that they have, they bring different elements for the ground game that makes it tough for the Chiefs to kind of game plan. For Steve Spagnuolo, he's got to come up with a masterclass plan here that's going to really minimize the running game and maybe force Lamar Jackson to be a thrower. Because, look, as they've invested in the receiving core, right, through the draft and through bringing Odell Beckham and Zay Flowers and all these guys onto the roster, let's see if Lamar can beat you with his arm. And I think he can, but how many throws will Monken give him in this game? Will it be 25 to 30, or will it be a mix of maybe 65-35 pass-to-run ratio that has been their formula all throughout the course of this run under Tom Monken as the OC?
That's a great point. You just talked about all those weapons, and that's what we were just talking about with Buffalo, right? You know, Baltimore recognized this. All right, let's get a Zay Flowers. They tried with Bateman. Let's bring Odell Beckham in, right? They were aggressive in realizing we need more playmakers. Look at San Francisco, man. Multiple playmakers. So now if Samuel is hurt, it's not the end of the world for them in the same way that it would be, because they have other players that can make plays. So let's get into the Lions situation here. Lions are going back to the NFC Conference Championship game for the first time since 92. San Francisco are back again here as 7-point favorites in this game. The total is 51. It's been a nice story for Detroit. They survived the Rams. They got a pretty favorable matchup getting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yesterday. I know San Francisco weren't great against Green Bay, but with that being stated, I think Detroit really were helped by that amazing atmosphere that they've had at home over the last couple of weeks, right? You're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. Like, now you're going, like, this is going to be different, right? Like Flavor Flav and all that, Detroit and all this stuff was all fun. It's going to be a totally different situation playing outdoors in the Bay Area against the San Francisco 49ers, who know they didn't play great last week and didn't play a real game in about 3 weeks, Mo. So I expect them to actually be better this week. Now they got a game under their belt.
I think so, but I'm giving the Lions a real chance here, Gabe. I think they match up better against the Niners than Green Bay did. I think the Lions' running game is a lot more proficient and more prolific than the Packer running game was. I think there's receiving matchups that they have on the Detroit side that could exploit the Niners secondary, who, we spoke about this in weeks past, that, San Fran's front seven is top notch, but it's their back four that has been the weak link, that they can give up a big play as they did. So I think in this situation now, for what they're trying to build up, is can they get the one-on-one matchups in their favor? Can Brown be that guy for them? Can Laporta, who's been banged up, be that guy for them? If they get those one-on-ones, Gabe, I'm giving the Goff-led offense a chance to keep this Lions team in this fourth quarter, and that's where you can flip a coin at that point.
I think Goff is a difference maker. We're talking about someone that's won an NFC Conference Championship game before. Something Purdy hasn't done yet.
The Lions were going to blow out the Rams, and in the first half I was like, all right, I got one right here on this one. And then the Lions, what happened, Jacob? They stopped playing.
The Lions offense is more of a complete unit right now because they have a really strong run game, and I know Tampa's run defense is good too, but all they need is David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs to do a little, and that'll open things up for Jared Goff.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Last year, the Purdue Boilermakers upset by the 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson. Is history going to repeat itself?
Purdue is capable of winning 6 games in the NCAA tournament, but the fact is, until Purdue proves that it's capable of not just advancing, but advancing far in the bracket in March, this is going to be the storyline. And I've said that to you throughout the offseason.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
I can see why people would bet Boston at minus about 45, but I think the two of them are so exciting and so talented and so awesome. I went with and made the bet of the over 6.5.
There are issues with football character. Always doing the right thing, being in the right spot, being highly coachable. Why do they continue to fail in the big moments? It's football character, Pharrell. It's not a talent issue. That has nothing to do with it.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They were best friends. Like Siakam's best friend on the team was Chris Boucher. Chris Boucher's best friend on the team was Pascal Siakam. They're not American, right? So there's different cliques in the NBA. And they were very, very tight. So Chris Boucher, I got rattled like seeing Chris Boucher and thinking about the memories. But Raptors responded.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
One that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
This is Sports Rage. I am Gabriel Morency. We're kicking it. Mo Khan in the house with us. We're talking about the National Football League Final Four, but there's other football stuff to get to. But I sort of feel you, Mo. I agree with you as far as the Baltimore Ravens and the Chiefs are concerned. I think the Ravens are the team to beat in this game. It's lined up perfectly for them, and I think the KC's just going to run out of I think it's a Buffalo thing. They've got Buffalo's number. Buffalo finds ways to lose games. This is the second consecutive road game in a row. I think it's just the injuries, not so much the crowd or anything like that. I just think it's like the travel, the injuries, and now you get a supercharged Lamar Jackson. You talked about it's a pretty draining game for them. Now you got to chase Lamar Jackson around, who's going to be in that whatever it takes mode to get to the Super Bowl right now. And as far as the Lions and Niners, I do give the Lions a puncher's chance. You can't not. They've got playmakers. Their defense, Hutchinson's a badass. They're getting after the quarterbacks. You know Campbell is going to be edgy. He might do something as the underdog here, right? He was the favorite at home. It's a little bit different now. He might think, you know what, to beat San Francisco, we're going to need a surprise touchdown. We're going to need sort of a touchdown that's not, you know what I mean? We're going to need an extra 7 points somewhere. He might try something and it might work out. It might not for him. Goff has been here, done that before, played in big games before. So I like that factor. I just think San Francisco are so damn good. But it wouldn't surprise me if Detroit cover. Who do you think wins the game, Mo? Because as I stand right now, I kind of get the feeling that, I don't have to bet it yet, but, I'm not ready to lay 7, but I do think San Francisco win the football game.
It's a high line, Gabe. When I heard the line last night, I started laughing. You got to be kidding me. I mean, it was 6.5, 7.5, whatever it was. I said it's too high. That's super high. I think the total will go over. I think both teams will score over 50 for sure. But that line's high. But I think Detroit does win this football game. I really believe that they have a real chance to come into San Fran and pull off the upset, and not because of the fact that Brock Purdy had a terrible game. And who knows about Deebo Samuel, if he's going to be healthy or not. But when you look at the matchups right now, when you go position by position here, they're stout. I mean, Ragnow is banged up, and that's the key, right? That line's a little bit banged up here. Laporta's not healthy. You brought in Zach Ertz to be a backup tight end, so I'm not sure how many reps Ertz will get on Sunday. But the fact that they're playing with house money, they weren't cocky about the win that they had against Tampa on the weekend. They took it in, and it's business for this team here. And I think San Fran has all the pressure because you think about it, Gabe, as bad as they were on Saturday night, though, this team does leak on the defensive side, on the back end, and also on the O-line. They've not played well on the O-line in the last 4 or 5 weeks here. For Brock Purdy, if he has the same effort like he did, and if you think about those missed pick sixes for Green Bay, Detroit, their secondary is decent, but they'll come up. And Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's a guy that I'm watching out for, has been an X factor that will have the emotional pulse of this team and will make sure guys are lined up properly here. I think it might come down to the final 5 minutes. I think Detroit has that ilk to come away with a victory and be in Vegas for the Super Bowl in 2-3 weeks from now.
I didn't know why the Saints let that guy go, and then I don't know why the Eagles let that guy go. I think he talks so much that,
really.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Eagles had a bad secondary. Well, you had a guy in the secondary that was good. I think that he actually talks so much that it wears out the team that he's on after a while because, it's the only real explanation. If you remember, too, he was on the Saints and he was starting fights all the time during games, and it was upsetting them. Yeah, and he started fighting in practice. They were like, dude, it's one thing to fight with other people. Like, now you're fighting with our own guys. So Philly, I don't know what happened in Philly, but you're right. He does provide that spark. He's not trash talker. Look, he flipped the ball to Baker Mayfield after he talked smack to him all week, and he's that guy, right? But hey, it's not as if though the Detroit secondary is great. So Purdy could do some damage there. And from the Niners' perspective, the Niners are saying that Samuel does not have a fracture in his shoulder. So as far as the coaching situation is concerned, we finally have a hire here in the National Football League. The Tennessee Titans have hired the Cincinnati Bengals offensive coordinator Brian Callahan to be their new head coach. Obviously, we've seen the Cincinnati Bengal offense has been very good with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow loves them. Zach Taylor highly endorses them. So the Titans get their guy. Meanwhile, Harbaugh is on to his second interview process here with the Chargers and the Atlanta Falcons. We can't go a conversation without bringing up Harbaugh, obviously. How do you think this plays out now with the Chargers and Falcons? Because people in Ann Arbor were happy about the championship. Now they're sort of getting to this, listen. And I said the same thing last week. Just, dude, every year. Now, basically, Michigan fans and Michigan media are basically saying, this is just going to happen every year. So, just do it at this point, right? Because it will. It's happened last year, and they didn't even win last year. So, what do you think happens here with Harbaugh now with the Chargers and Falcons?
I think the Falcons are a little bit more layered with Rich McKay, Terry Fontenot, right? Those guys, the GM and the president and GM respectively. How does he act with those guys? Because Harbaugh is that independent ship, Gabe, right? His time in Michigan, his time in San Fran. He runs his own agenda, doesn't want to answer to others, right? And you think about this situation, his closest compatriot in the NFL is Ed Dodds, who is the assistant GM in Indianapolis, who's being looked at by the Vegas Raiders and other organizations. I wonder now for the LA Chargers, who know they have to bring in a big game hire here, if they bring in Harbaugh, is Ed Dodds going to be the GM? And that's going to be key because he's not going to be the GM in Atlanta with Fontenot there right now as we speak. And I think for where Jim Harbaugh is, if he believes that this franchise, the Atlanta Falcons, are one player away from being a contender in the division, then maybe he goes down to the ATL. But I still believe the LA Chargers are
It's a much better job.
It's a much better job. 100% it's a much better job. But the thing is, though, Gabe, is that LA will provide him an immediate impact. And that's where Harbaugh loves, is those immediate opportunities.
They'll feed his ego, you mean? Yeah.
They will, right? They definitely will. But the thing is in Atlanta, though, is that does he want to answer to those two guys above him? And that's where things get prickly, right? And so where does he lie with Atlanta? And look,
but the Chargers are such, like you said, the Chargers are such a weird situation. You're interviewing coaches when you don't have a GM. Yeah, how dysfunctional is that, right? So that's another thing.
It's same thing with the Raiders, right? They hired Antonio Pierce, but now they're trying to figure out who the GM's going to be. That's such a weird course to take. But now for the LA Chargers game, look, we know Atlanta and LA are going big game hunting right now for a coach because they're in dire need to bring an injection of optimism that's been lacking those two organizations. But if Jim Harbaugh is going to look at, hey, who can give me the now? It's Justin Herbert. It's not going to be Desmond Ridder or whoever they bring in, Tyler Heineke, whoever it is. So they know
but they have
that
the 8th pick in the draft.
Right, and LA has a higher pick. I think it's the 5th pick, whatever it is. So right now, the Chargers have more immediate playmakers to work with, although with their cap situation right now, it may not be as easy as people think it will be. So I think Atlanta has better playmakers.
Yeah, the Chargers aren't good. It's not a good job. The AFC is hard. You're in a tough division. The Broncos will get better with Sean Payton. The Broncos clearly have money. They don't care. You're dealing with Walmart money. So they can correct mistakes and move on. They don't care about that. The Raiders, whatever. The Raiders are the Raiders. They'll be competitive. But Dude, you go to the Falcons, it's a terrible division. It's like Tom Brady went there and won the Super Bowl in the first year, right? I mean, you're dealing, look, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
They have no quarterback.
The Buccaneers. Who? The Falcons?
The Falcons have a quarterback.
Yeah, but you can get a quarterback, Mo. I'd rather not have a quarterback and have Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and a young defense than who do the Chargers have? Keenan Allen? The guy's broken down, bro. Like, I don't trust Keenan Allen. Mike Williams? Mike Williams hasn't been good since he was at Clemson. Like, Austin Eckler? Okay. It's not some dream roster, right? It's a bad job. Like, you're second fiddle to the Rams. Nobody cares about you. You don't have any fan base. There's no, like, the only thing that you have going there is, like you said, is they'll kiss your ass, right?
Yeah.
Whatever, like but that's if they actually want to pay him, right? But because he won't win. That's the whole thing. Like, you're not going to win there. Like, I don't think the team is very good. I don't think they didn't win because of Staley. I don't think they're just very good.
Right, but the difference is Arthur Blank will pay whatever needs to be paid to get his guy. The Spanos family will pay 5 cents on the dollar for their guy. So are they going to pay $20 million plus for Jim Harbaugh? Is Dean Spanos and that family going to pay that money? I'm not sure.
No, I never thought so.
I really don't know.
But I don't think Harbaugh's dumb enough to get played by them in the sense to be used, you know what I mean? To say, well, we wanted to get him, but, he didn't want to come here. Like, Harbaugh probably has an interest in it. I don't know. I can't get in Harbaugh's head. But I personally think the Atlanta job is much better. You can win a division in your first year. You can be in the playoffs.
They have no quarterback, though. That's the problem, though.
Yeah, but Mo, you can get a quarterback. It's not hard. You get a quarterback. You have the 8th pick in the draft. There's other quarterbacks out there. I mean, so what? How many playoff games has Justin Herbert won in his life?
Of course, he's won nothing. He's a final quarterback.
So what quarterback? You got a quarterback. Like, you have the 8th pick in the draft. You can get a quarterback
right now. But today, if Harbaugh's looking at the present moment, is he taking Herbert?
So right now, you have Herbert. So what do you think his record will be with the Chargers? Right now, because he has Herbert. Oh, God, he has Herbert. Yeah, right now, with that crap-ass team that they have.
But here's the thing. I think if Harbaugh goes to the Chargers, they can win 11 games. It won't be enough to win the division. 10 to 11 games is not crazy for the Chargers.
They're not good. Every year you think the Chargers are going to be good, and they're never good. They're not good. I remember this year. I love you, but I remember this year you said this is their year.
Last year I said it. Not this year.
All right, so like, they're not. It's never their year. It just is. Like, they're not a good organization. I don't think their roster's good. I think, though, listen, he played for them, though, right?
That's right.
So, right, he played for them. Maybe he's got something there. I just think the Atlanta job's a hell of a lot better. But we keep hearing Belichick to Atlanta all the time. I don't know what's going on with that.
Your shot, though, with Belichick. I think he's waiting for the right opportunity, right? Look, I think Sirianni's back in Philly. Dallas is out the window. And look, Washington, if Ben Johnson doesn't go there, do they look at him, right? And that's why these moving parts now, Gabe, are so unknown. We won't know really until probably towards the end of this week of who's going to go to Washington, Carolina, and who knows what's going to happen in Philly if they still keep Sirianni or not.
Well, Washington was the one with the 8th pick. Exactly. I brought that up with I said Atlanta before. I was talking about Harbaugh, sorry. But with Washington with the 8th pick, Washington, I don't know if they interviewed him yet. I think they want to. I always thought that's not a crazy fit either for Harbaugh if he wants to rebuild sort of a traditional program, because there'd be patience. There really would be. Like, they'd just be happy he was there. You know what I'm saying? Be like, listen, right. Harbaugh's here. So, like, you just give him time and we'll be patient with this. I don't know. Like I said, anyone who thinks they know what Harbaugh is going to do, I mean, go ahead and bet on it. God bless you. But I'll tell you what, Ohio State, like, whatever's going to happen, like I saw Jesse Minter earlier today tweeting about the championship and stuff. It's all good, but I hope they realize in Ann Arbor there's an arms war going on. In Columbus, they're stockpiling, bro. I mean, they're picking Bama's carcass dry, right? And they're going after not just that, man. They got Junkins from Mississippi. Ohio State's not playing around, Mo.
They got 5 quarterbacks on our roster right now. They're good. They're going to be loaded up with that quarterback position.
No problem. Thank you very much, Mo.
Always, guys. Have a good week.
thought the Lions were going to blow out the Rams. And in the first half, I was like, all right, I got one right here on this one. And then the Lions, what happened, Jacob? They stopped playing.
The Lions offense is more of a complete unit right now because they have a really strong run game. And I know Tampa's run defense is good too, but all they need is David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs to do a little, and that'll open things up for Jared Goff.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Last year, the Purdue Boilermakers upset by the 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson. Is history going to repeat itself?
Purdue is capable of winning 6 games in the NCAA tournament, but the fact is, until Purdue proves that it's capable of not just advancing, but advancing far in the bracket in March, this is going to be the storyline. And I've said that to you throughout the offseason.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
I can see why people would bet Boston at minus about 45, but I think the two of them are so exciting and so talented and so awesome. I went with and made the bet of the over 6.5.
There are issues with football character. Always doing the right thing, being in the right spot, being highly coachable. Why do they continue to fail in the big moments? It's football character, Pharrell. It's not a talent issue. That has nothing to do with it.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They were best friends. Like Siakam's best friend on the team was Chris Boucher. Chris Boucher's best friend on the team was Pascal Siakam. They're not American, right? So there's different cliques in the NBA, and they were very, very tight. So Chris Boucher, I got rattled seeing Chris Boucher and thinking about the memories. But Raptors responded.
SportsRage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
One that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
This is SportsRage. I am Morency. So our boy Rick Saratella is going to be with us tomorrow. We'll get into the NFL draft with him. So, Washington have the 2nd pick. Atlanta have the 8th pick. I think Washington are going to meet with Harbaugh later in the week, right? I guess they're interviewing Bieniemy as well and all this. I don't live and die with every report of every interview and stuff. I just maintain, like I said, listen, I love our boy Mo Khan, but the Falcons really are a quarterback away. And whatever, man. You can sign Kirk Cousins, the free agent. There's going to be quarterbacks available. Russell Wilson's available. If you're Atlanta, that's an upgrade, right? Harbaugh was successful with a veteran quarterback as himself, right? There's going to be quarterbacks out there. The Chicago Bears going to trade Justin Fields. Justin Fields is from Atlanta. Not to mention you have the 8th pick in the draft, right? I mean, if Harbaugh hypothetically could take J.J. McCarthy, he could take his guy. Or if not, whatever, you can get a Drake May. They can move up in the draft. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff. Atlanta's a good job, right? There's a reason why you're hearing Belichick and, connected to this. I sort of get the feeling that Belichick will take the Atlanta job because he sees there's a lot of young talent on this team. I don't know if he's going to hold him back, personally, right? I don't know if he's going to hold him back. I would rather Harbaugh than Belichick as the coach, to be honest. I don't know. Like Belichick won with Tom Brady. Belichick can't help your offense. So, you can't have a young quarterback. You'll need a veteran quarterback. If Bill Belichick gets hired in Atlanta, you bring in a Kirk Cousins, and I'm not going to say they're not going to make the playoffs. That division sucks, right? You get to win a division, and you can be in the playoffs, and you're a couple of games away from the Super Bowl. Hell, that's why Tom Brady went there. He wasn't dumb. Tom Brady didn't leave the Patriots to go, let me go and play for the Raiders and beat the Chiefs and everyone in the AFC. Like, the NFC is the clear path. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were just one win away from the NFC Conference Championship game, okay? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the NFC is where you want to be if you want to win quick. All right? The AFC is a bloodbath. It's like, oh, yeah, we won. Good for you. Now you play Baltimore. Oh, we won. Good for you. Now you get Kansas City. It ain't fun in the AFC. Trust me. Other than that, you're on your own. Later.